Far away from Earth, there was a dark and cold space station called Rostel. It floated near the edge of the galaxy. This place was not beautiful. It was dirty, broken, and full of dangerous aliens. Most people came here to sell, steal, or hide. No one came here for kindness. In one corner of the station, under an old metal bridge, lived a young alien girl named Reika. Reika was not like others. Her back was bent. One leg was twisted and useless. Her hands were thin and shaking. She had been born with a broken body. She could not walk. She crawled on the cold floors with her hands dragging her leg behind her. Every day she searched for food. She picked up old trash, half-eaten food, or anything soft enough to chew. Sometimes cruel aliens kicked her. Sometimes they laughed. They called her Trash Girl, Half-Born, or the Crawling Freak. Reika never answered. She just kept her head down and moved slowly. She had no family, no friends, and no hope. She didn't dream. She didn't cry anymore. Tears were useless in a place like Rostel. One day the guards came. 3 tall aliens with black armor walked through the alley. One of them saw Reika under the metal bridge and shouted, "She's still alive? Disgusting!" Another one spat on the floor. "Let's clean this garbage. Bring her to the square." The third guard grabbed Reika's arm. His claws were sharp. "You can't live here for free, freak." "No," she whispered weakly. "Please." But they didn't listen. They dragged her across the dirty floor. Her broken leg hit the ground again and again. She tried not to scream, but the pain was too much. The guards took her to the trade square in the center of the station. There were many aliens there, traders, fighters, thieves. Everyone stopped to watch. The guard threw her on the platform like a broken toy. "Who wants this useless thing?" one of them shouted. "She can't work, she can't walk, take her." "For free," the crowd laughed. "Not even worth 1 credit. Feed her to the waste bots. She'll die in a day." Reika closed her eyes. Maybe this was the end. Maybe this was the day she would disappear forever. Then, someone spoke. "I'll take her." The voice was different. Calm, strong, not like the others. The crowd went silent. Everyone turned to look. A tall man stepped forward. His coat was long and dusty. His boots were old. His face had a small scar across the cheek, but his blue eyes were clear and kind. A human. Humans were rare in this part of space. Most stayed near Earth or colonized planets. This one was alone, and clearly not afraid. The guard looked confused. "You want this thing?" The human nodded. "Yes. She's broken. I know. She's free. Take her." The human walked toward Reika slowly. She opened her eyes. She expected pain, a kick, a collar. But instead, he knelt beside her. He spoke softly. "Can you understand me?" Reika didn't reply. "My name is Daniel Cross. I won't hurt you." He reached out his hand. Reika stared at it. No one had offered her a hand before, only fists, only chains. Slowly, she placed her small, cold hand in his. Daniel gently picked her up. She didn't fight. She didn't speak. The crowd watched in silence. One alien muttered, "Humans are strange." Another one said, "He'll regret it." But Daniel didn't care. He walked through the crowd, holding Reika like she was something precious, not garbage, not a thing, a person. Inside his ship, Reika sat on a soft seat. Her eyes looked around. She had never seen a place so clean, so quiet, so warm. Daniel brought her a drink. "Water, it's clean." She stared at it. "You're not going to sell me?" He shook his head. "No." "You're not going to beat me?" "No." "Why?" she asked. Daniel smiled gently. "Because you matter." Tears filled Reika's eyes, but they didn't fall. Not yet. But in her heart, a small light started to glow, for the first time in her life. Someone had chosen her. Reika sat silently on the soft seat inside the ship. Everything around her felt strange. The air was clean. The lights were soft, no one shouted, no one hit her. She waited for pain, for chains, for shouting, but none came. Daniel walked into the room holding something. It looked like a silver drink bottle. He handed it to her with a calm smile. Water. Clean. You need it, he said. Reika took it with shaky hands. Her body was still afraid. She drank slowly, expecting the taste of old metal like on Rastel, but it was fresh, cold, real. You're not going to sell me? She asked, her voice small. Daniel looked surprised. Sell you? No. You're not going to use me? Daniel sat on the floor across from her, careful not to move too fast. No, Reika. You're not a slave. You're not an object. You're someone. She looked down. But I'm broken. Daniel shook his head. No. You were hurt. There's a difference. She didn't answer. Her eyes were full of doubt, but inside, something small was beginning to change. A soft flicker, like the beginning of a fire. For the next 2 days, Reika stayed mostly in bed. Her body hurt. Her mind hurt even more. But Daniel never raised his voice. He cleaned her wounds, gave her soft food, told her stories about Earth, a planet with blue skies, green trees, and people who danced under stars. Reika couldn't understand. Him. Why would a human care about her? On the 3rd day, Daniel entered with a small metal box. I want to help you walk again, he said. She blinked. Walk? Yes. I'm a bioengineer. I fix things, machines, ships, and sometimes legs. She stared at the box. Is it going to hurt? A little, but I'll be right here. She paused. Her hands trembled. Why are you doing this? Daniel didn't smile this time. His face was serious. Because someone once helped me when I was broken too. Daniel placed small machines on Reika's leg and back. The machines clicked and hummed, connecting to her nerves. It felt like fire. Reika screamed, but Daniel held her hand the whole time. It's okay, just breathe. I'm here. Hours passed. Sweat covered her face. Her body shook, and then she moved her foot, only a little. But she saw it, felt it. I moved, she whispered. Daniel smiled. Yes, you did. Later that night, Reika sat beside the window of the ship. Outside, stars blinked like eyes watching her. Inside, she felt something strange. It wasn't fear, it wasn't hunger, it wasn't pain. It was hope. Daniel walked up and handed her a soft blanket. You're healing fast. She looked at him. Do you help all broken things? Daniel shook his head. No, just the ones worth saving. Her eyes widened. And I'm worth saving? Yes, Reika. You are. The next morning, Daniel opened a small training room. Let's try walking, he said gently. Reika stood shaking. The machines on her leg buzzed softly. Her first step was small, then another, and another. She fell. Daniel caught her. She looked up, frustrated. I can't. He helped her up again. You will. And this time, she believed him. Not because of the machines. Not because of the healing, but because Daniel never gave up on her. And for the first time in her life, Reika didn't feel like someone's burden. She felt like someone's choice. The ship was quiet, floating through empty space. The stars outside didn't blink. It was peaceful. But inside Reika's heart, a storm was rising. She sat at the edge of the training room bed, her metal-assisted leg humming softly. The repair devices Daniel had placed were not just machines. They were like new bones made of light and wire joining with her nerves. Her back still ached. Her limbs were still weak. But something inside her was stronger than before. Today, Daniel had said she would stand without help. Daniel stood a few feet away, holding nothing. No support, no chair. Just his open hands. You don't have to rush, he said. Reika stared at the floor. What if I fall again? Then I'll catch you again, he said softly. The room went silent. Reika placed one hand on the wall and tried to lift herself. Her left foot shook. Her metal knee twitched. Sweat rolled down her temples. Then, slowly, painfully, she rose to her feet. Her heart beat fast. Her legs trembled like paper. But she was standing, truly standing. She looked up at Daniel. He smiled. That's it. Just one step. Her lips trembled. She had never walked on her own. Ever. She moved her right foot forward, then the left. One step, then two. Her arms opened like wings for balance, and then she stumbled. Daniel rushed forward, caught her before she hit the floor. She groaned. I'm still not ready. He looked into her eyes. You just walked. Do you understand how big that is? Reika blinked. Her whole life had been crawling, dragging, hiding. Today, for the first time, she moved forward. Later, she sat in the observation deck staring at the stars. Her legs were wrapped in healing bands. Her hands still shook from the effort. Daniel sat beside her. On my home planet, he said, we celebrate first steps. Reika gave a small smile. Humans are strange. Daniel chuckled. Maybe. But we believe every first step leads to something new. She looked down at her feet. These legs are not like the others. They're yours now, he said. And they're strong. No one ever gave me strength before, she whispered. Daniel didn't speak. He just rested his hand near hers, not touching, not forcing, just letting her know he was there. The next day, Reika practiced again. She fell. She got up. She walked. Daniel never cheered too loud. Never made her feel like a show. He just stood, nearby, always ready to help. And Reika noticed something. He was tired too. His eyes had shadows. His shoulders drooped. Why do you help me? She asked one night. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, because someone once helped me walk again. Not with legs, but with purpose. I was lost once, Reika. And I'm your purpose now? She asked carefully. No, he replied. You found your own purpose. I just reminded you it was still there. She smiled, a real one. Soft, gentle, and glowing like a moon in the dark. That evening, Reika stood on her own. No hands, no wall, no fear. She walked across the room. Slow, uneven steps, but she didn't fall. Daniel watched from the corner, and for the first time in her life, Reika didn't feel broken. She felt whole. The news spread like wind across Rostel Station and nearby colonies. Did you hear? They whispered. The human fixed that broken alien girl. They say she walks now. Disgusting. Unnatural. Freaks, both of them. Reika didn't hear all the words, but she saw the way others looked at her through the ship's cameras. She saw the messages on public channels. Some laughed. Some mocked. Some said Daniel should be punished for what he did, and yet Daniel didn't care. He sat in the ship's lab, fine-tuning her leg supports, adjusting the neural connectors, making sure she was stable and strong. Not just walking, but free. That evening, Reika sat with him in the dining cabin. He gave her hot soup and a small book from Earth. What's this? She asked. It's called poetry, he said. Humans write it to understand feelings. She turned the pages slowly. The words were strange but beautiful. I never learned to read, she admitted. Then we'll start now, he smiled. One word at a time. So they began. Every day, Reika walked a little more. Every day she read a little more. Every day. The feeling in her chest grew brighter, like the slow light of dawn breaking through a storm. But still, the galaxy outside didn't accept her. One day, a message came to Daniel's ship from a nearby port. The alien voice was sharp. Human, remove the creature from our zone. Your actions go against our laws. Machines should not walk for the worthless. If you do not leave, your ship will be targeted. Daniel didn't flinch. We'll leave, he said calmly. Reika felt anger inside her. You shouldn't leave because of me. Daniel turned to her. I'm not leaving because of you. I'm leaving because they're not worth our time. Later, they landed on a quiet moon with soft hills and silver skies. There, they trained again. Reika ran for the first time. Not fast, not far, but freely. Her laugh echoed across the valley. Daniel recorded her laugh, saved it in the ship's memory. I want to hear that again, he said. That night, they sat near the ship's window. Reika looked at the stars. Why do they hate us, she asked. Why does kindness look wrong to them? Daniel took a moment. Then he said, because they fear what they don't understand. They think strength is loud, brutal, sharp. He looked at her and added, but you're stronger than they'll ever be. How? She asked. You kept living, even when the whole galaxy told you not to. The next day, Reika walked into the galactic outpost alone. Aliens stared, some spit at the ground. Some stepped back like she was sick. She walked past them, head high. At the center of the plaza, she stood tall and said, You all called me a mistake. Said I was nothing, but I walk now. Not because of machines, not because of magic, but because someone believed I was still alive inside. They didn't clap, they didn't cheer, but they listened, and that was more than she had ever been given. Back on the ship, Daniel waited at the door. When Reika returned, he nodded once. You stood alone. She smiled. Yes, but I knew you'd be waiting. In the eyes of the galaxy, what Daniel had done was wrong, helping a broken alien, treating her like an equal, teaching her to walk, to speak, to think. But to Reika, it was not wrong. It was the only right thing anyone had ever done. She was no longer a discarded thing. She was a soul, a person, a voice, and she was just getting started. The stars were quiet that night, but danger had already arrived. Daniel's ship was parked near a forgotten mining station on a moon called Carnex 9. They had stopped only for fuel and supplies. It was supposed to be a short visit, safe, quiet. But someone had followed them, someone who didn't like what Reika had become. Inside the ship, Reika slept peacefully for the first time in years. Her legs ached from training, but it was a good kind of pain. She dreamed of walking across Earth, of soft grass, blue skies, and laughter. She dreamed of dancing, but suddenly, an alarm screamed through the ship. Beep! 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 Red lights flashed. She woke up, heart racing. From the hallway, she heard shouting, Daniel's voice. She jumped to her feet, wobbled slightly, then moved toward the sound. Outside the ship, 3 alien mercenaries had broken in. They were tall, armored, and carried shotguns. You think helping a freak makes you noble, human? One hissed. She should have been left to rot. Daniel stood between them and the control panel. Leave now. You won't get her. One mercenary aimed his gun. Daniel tried to dodge, but a blast hit his shoulder. He fell to the floor, groaning. Reika arrived just in time to see him fall. Her body froze. Pain, fear, rage. She remembered every time she had been beaten, every time no one came to help. But now, someone had helped her, and she would not lose. Him. She didn't scream, she didn't cry, she ran. Her metal-supported legs gave her strength. She leapt forward, grabbed a long metal rod from the wall and struck the nearest alien in the side. He roared in pain and turned toward her, raising his gun. But Reika was faster. She slammed the rod into his wrist. The gun dropped. Another mercenary tried to tackle her. She ducked and hit his leg. He stumbled. She grabbed Daniel's arm and pulled him back. Run! Go! Daniel shouted. I'm not leaving you, she yelled. Her body hurt, her legs shook, but Reika's eyes burned with fire. The last mercenary raised a high-powered shock device. aimed straight at her. She moved fast, swinging the rod with both hands. Sparks exploded as the weapon hit the alien's hand. He screamed and dropped. To his knees, sirens blared. The ship's defense system activated. Blinding lights flashed. Walls slid shut, trapping the invaders inside the cargo hold. Daniel gasped as Reika dragged him down the hallway. "You saved me," he whispered. She looked, down at him, blood on his shirt but alive. "You saved me first." Hours later, Daniel lay in the medroom bed. His arm was wrapped. His wounds were healing. Reika sat beside him, holding his hand tightly. "You were brave," Daniel said weakly. "No," she said. "I was scared." He smiled. "But you didn't run." She didn't smile back. "I couldn't lose you, not after you gave me everything." "You gave yourself everything, Reika," he whispered. "You walked. You fought. You chose to live." Reika blinked away tears. "I'm not weak anymore," she said. Daniel nodded. "No, you're stronger than I ever was." Outside the ship, the galaxy still whispered cruel words, but inside something had changed. Reika didn't just walk now. She stood up for someone she loved. She fought. She protected. And that night, Daniel didn't save her. She saved him. Daniel's wounds healed slowly, but he smiled more each day. His arm stayed wrapped, and walking was harder now, but his voice was calm, steady, peaceful. Reika stayed by his side. She cleaned his bandages. She cooked what little she knew how. She even told him old alien stories from her homeworld. Stories she barely remembered. They laughed sometimes. They sat in silence sometimes. But silence no longer felt empty. It felt safe. One day, Daniel looked at her and said, "You don't owe me anything." Reika blinked. "I don't understand." "You saved me. I helped you walk. But you don't have to stay." She shook her head slowly. "I don't want to leave." Daniel leaned back against the wall. "Why?" Reika took a moment before answering. "Because this ship, it's the first place I've ever felt real." Daniel didn't say anything, but his eyes told her he understood. That night, Reika walked alone to the control deck. She stared at the galaxy map. So many stars. So many places. So many people who would still call her a freak, a mistake, a repaired machine. And yet, she wasn't afraid anymore. Because she had someone beside her who never asked her to change, only to believe she mattered. The next morning, Daniel gave her a gift. It was a small bracelet, silver and smooth, made from leftover ship metal. "I made it while resting," he said. She turned it in her hand, smiling. "It's beautiful." "It's not just decoration," Daniel added. "There's a small signal chip inside. If we're ever separated, I'll find you." Reika wore it proudly. No one had ever given her something meant to protect her before. Over time, she became more than a guest. She became part of the ship. She helped with repairs. She learned to read system codes. She even painted the wall near her room with stars from her memory, stars from the planet she had been born on but never remembered well. "This is your home too now," Daniel told her one evening. And she believed him. One day, Daniel sat beside her with a data pad. "There's a human word I want to teach you." "What is it?" He showed her the word. "Bond." It's not blood, not family by birth, but it's stronger than both. She touched the word with her finger. "I like it," she said. "It's what we have now." Daniel said, "You and me." Reika looked at him. "So, you are my bond?" "Yes," he said. "And you are mine." That night, the stars outside seemed to shine a little warmer. Not because the galaxy had changed, but because Reika had. She was no longer a broken girl hiding in the shadows of Rastel. She was a fighter, a learner, a healer, a protector, and for the first time, a person who belonged to someone not through chains, but through choice. The galactic invitation came as a surprise. A message flashed on the ship's screen, marked with the seal of the United Outer Worlds Council. Human vessel, number X921, registered under Daniel Cross. You and your companion are invited to speak. At the council hall on Polaris Prime. Topic: ethical restoration of the rejected. Daniel looked at Reika. They want you, he said quietly. They want to see what you've become. Reika froze. They don't want me. They want a show. A living example of a miracle. Then give them more than a show, Daniel said. Give them a truth they can't ignore. They arrived at Polaris Prime 2 days later. The city was bright, polished like glass. Tall towers reached into clouds of pink and blue. Alien ships floated like birds above, and council soldiers watched from every corner. Reika walked beside Daniel. No cane, no help, no fear, but every step felt heavy. Whispers followed her. That's the broken one. She walks now. Wasn't she a waste model? How is that thing alive? Daniel leaned closer and whispered, They don't get to decide your story. You do. She nodded, slow but sure. The council hall was vast. Gold pillars, floating seats, and 100 eyes watching her from every direction. The moment Reika stepped onto the speaking floor, silence fell. The council leader, a tall being, with 6 eyes and no mouth, spoke through a translator. Speak, Reika of Rastel. Tell us why you are here. She looked at Daniel. He nodded. Then she stepped forward alone. I was born with a twisted body, she began. Her voice was steady. My leg didn't work. My spine was bent. My people said I was useless. I believed them. I lived in garbage. I waited to die. I thought I was nothing. But then, a human saw me, she pointed to Daniel. He didn't see a problem. He saw a person. He didn't fix me to feel proud. He helped me because he believed I deserved a chance. Some council members whispered. Others leaned in. I walk now, she continued, taking a step. Not because I'm fixed, but because I was valued. I learned to read. I learned to stand. I learned to fight. She raised her arm and showed the scar from the night she saved Daniel. I bled for someone who once believed I was worth saving. And I would do it again. There was silence again. Then, one chair stood, then another, and another. No claps. No loud cheers, but eyes softened. Heads bowed, because the galaxy wasn't blind anymore. They had seen her walk. After the speech, outside the hall, a small alien girl ran up to Reika. She had thin legs and wore a brace. Are you really broken like me? She asked. Reika knelt down and touched her hand. I was. But now I'm something else. What? Strong. Reika whispered. And so are you. Back on the ship, Daniel placed a new badge on the wall beside her painted stars. It said, Reika. First of her kind. Not a machine. Not a mistake. A voice. Reika touched it gently. Is this what victory feels like? She asked. Daniel smiled. No, this is what freedom feels like. She took his hand and looked out at the stars. Once the galaxy had thrown her away. Now, it watched her rise.